There you are. It's time to get started. I'm gonna recognize Representative Powell, if you have your agendas, to explain House Bill 945.
Okay. He just threw these in my lap, so bear with me.
Our normal, all things alcohol guy seems to be out with an illness this morning. He's not feeling well. So Representative Powell is a good fill-in. You ready?
Well, we'll go with that. Okay. House Bill 945 will take the number of qualified electors that needed to do alcohol petition for the county or municipality from 20%, but they want to add or 1,500 people, whichever number is lesser. I think we need to put a reverse repealer in this one. I think 1,500 electors is a little bit low for counties like Rankin, some of their larger counties. So
motion. Would that be your motion to amend
yes,
the bill?
sir.
Okay, y'all have heard the motion to amend the bill and the explanation of the First Amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Gentlemen from Tallahatchie, did you talk?
I said aye.
Okay. All right. Well, you're a little late. You voted when we were saying no. Look, we'll try the procedure we used last week. I'm going to assume that you voted yes, unless you tell me you vote no. How's that sound?
Good.
All right. Good deal. The amendment passes. Representative Powell, any further explanation on the bill?
No, that's it. I mean, we're just amending to put the number of qualified petitioners on it. That's it. It's 1,500, but with the reverse repealer, we'll be able to talk about it and make sure that's what we really need.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the gentleman? Seeing none, motion is title sufficient to pass as amended. All in favor, wait, let me back up. Anybody opposed? Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. A motion to reconsider and a motion to table. Moving along, gentlemen, you will also be recognized for House Bill 1288.
Okay. House Bill 1288 is going to allow charter vessels to operate to allow alcoholic beverages for tours and such. It only affects the bottom 3 counties of the state. It just gives them the opportunity to sell and consume alcohol on the boats during tours.
I thought they've been doing that for years down there.
I imagine they have.
All right, we're going to finally make them legal. Any questions? All right, seeing none, the motion is title sufficient to pass. Does anybody wish to vote no? Seeing none, the motion carries. There's a motion to reconsider and a motion to table. Thank you, Representative Powell.
Yeah.
All right, we'll skip back up to the top of the page now, 1231. This is the Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund. A little bit of background on this bill. This bill was double referred to Wildlife and Ways and Means. It has now passed Wildlife, which means it comes to us. I see the able chairman sitting out here with us today, and this is a game changer, folks. Just tell you what it is. This will be the biggest thing that the state of Mississippi has done for conservation in any recent memory that I have, maybe in our history. Certainly, there's been some big things that have done, but this is a perpetual funding source, which doesn't come around often, for conservation projects in the state. And the way the bill is currently drafted, it sets up a board and creates a diversion on sporting goods items. So you go to your sporting goods store, you buy a gun, or you buy some camouflage, or buy whatever you might buy there. A small piece of the taxes that are collected from those stores all across the state, it'll be ultimately capped at $20 million in this fund. It can be spent for conservation projects all over the state. And there will be a board that will be established that will receive the applications on an annual basis and decide how to spend these funds. And there's very limited on what they can be spent on. It certainly has to relate to conservation purposes. It's generally limited to that, but that inside that, there's also a lot of things that fall into that category. It's not just, don't think just hunting and fishing. Think things such as really anything that would touch on conservation, to outdoor recreation, We could use this, government agencies could use some of the funds to help with issues that we have and conservation purposes at parks. Nonprofits can use these funds in other areas as well. Cities and counties would have access to apply to these funds. Walking trails, lakes, you name it. There's a lot of different potential applications. And so that is an explanation of the bill. I think it's a fine piece of legislation. I do believe we need to, there's possibly a few tweaks to the board that need to be made. And so I have talked with the chairman of wildlife and the other author of the bill, Representative Bounds, who's worked hard on this as well. And we're gonna continue to work on trying to get the composition of the board nailed down to where we believe it's would work best. So that's an explanation of the bill, and I will take any questions you might have. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, you mentioned I'm sorry, someone else?
No, you're recognized.
Thank you. You mentioned a $20 million cap. Would that be a $20 million a year cap, or would that be a $20 million total cap on the fund itself?
So basically, gentlemen, it would be a diversion of, starts off basically in year one at around $833,000 per month diversion on these types of sales. The diversion ends up going, I think, maxed out at somewhere around $1,250,000. But when those funds, when that cap or that fund reaches 20 million, that shuts off. That basically, and then it could get spent down at some point in time, and it's to be no more than that amount of money per year.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? Seeing none, the motion is title sufficient, do pass. Committee sub. Committee sub. Okay, you've heard the motion. Anybody wish to vote no? Seeing none, the motion carries. There's a motion to reconsider and a motion to table. Moving right along. House Bill 1095. This is a bill that we have looked at in the past. I drafted this bill. I fully admit to you that the bill needs some work. This is for those of y'all who may not practice any tax controversy or tax litigation, this bill is what we would call in that world an offer and compromise bill. The federal government has a similar type process, and we currently have a process in place right now, although it's by regulation with the Department of Revenue, where the situation where this would apply would be you have a taxpayer who owes the state a bunch of money. There's a final adjudication. From most times it will be years old, and everybody knows that the state's never going to be able to collect what the judgment recognizes that is or states that's owed. And so the issue would be, is it better for the taxpayers in the state to get something at some point in time during this taxpayer's life, or get nothing and just have a piece of paper that says they're entitled to a bunch? Well, I think most reasonable people would agree something is better than nothing. So this would allow, would set up a procedure that would allow the Department of Revenue to go in and compromise these doubtful claims through an offer and compromise process. I am actually going to make an amendment that we put a reverse repealer in the bill because I believe it needs some work, but I would like to keep it alive throughout the process, and let's continue to look at it and see how we could maybe come up with a good system in statute. Any questions? Seeing none, the motion is title sufficient to do. What do we need to adopt the amendment, council? Any questions on the amendment? All those in favor say aye. Anybody wish to vote no? Okay, you've heard the amendment. You've heard the explanation of the bill. Any further questions? Seeing none, the motion is title sufficient to pass as amended. Anybody wish to vote no? Okay, the motion carries. Motion to reconsider and a motion to table. The next bill moving right along is 1136. This is what has been referred to as Metra, the Mississippi Educational Talent Recruitment Act. This is a bill that we passed in substantially the same form last year. The Senate killed it. We've not only passed this concept last year, but we've actually passed it 2 or 3 years in a row now here in the House. And basically, what this is a bill that stems from the Speaker's Summit that he did on brain drain a year and a half or so ago. And the bill has several parts. The main part, the biggest part of this bill deals with allowing and recruiting young, educated folks to either stay in Mississippi or to move here once they finish their education in other states. And it would give them a tax rebate program whereby if they come here, I mean, they're residing in Mississippi, they're working in Mississippi, and they purchase real estate here in Mississippi, then when they get here, as long as it's within a year or two of their graduation, they can enter this program, and everything they pay in through income taxes will go into a separate fund, a DOR. And as long as they stay here for 5 years and do those things that we mentioned, live here, work here, purchase property here, then they will be entitled to a refund of the taxes that they paid in over those 5 years, the income tax, that is. And so the research is very clear that once you get somebody living somewhere for 5 years and they put down roots, they purchase property, they build a home, they're more likely to be here. And that's exactly what we need here in Mississippi is more folks, that high paying jobs, job creators, educated people living here and helping us figure out our issues and doing their part. And so that's the same exact procedure that we passed last year. It also has some smaller incentives for things such as telework, in other words, keep people here living in the state, although they may work out of state, but it will help with some of those costs as well for them to telework from home, and also some moving costs to assist people moving here from out of state to live here. And that's an explanation of the bill. We didn't get a lot of traction in discussing this last year in the Senate, but I want to keep this bill alive and continue to have that discussion with him. Any questions? Seeing none, the motion is title sufficient, do pass. Anybody wish to vote no? The motion carries. There's a motion to reconsider and a motion to table the motion to reconsider. The next bill is a pretty simple bill. It's House Bill 1230, and this bill would simply allow businesses that locate on tribal lands to be eligible to participate in funding and the different incentive programs that the MDA offers. And that's a simple explanation of the bill. Any questions?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman.
There you are. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I represent Sandersville, the Choctaw Indigenous people on the Bocoma Reservation.
Okay.
So can you briefly tell me now, what are the discretionary programs that they would be able to benefit from? Since, I'm just getting my packet. I'm trying to read through this quickly.
Just 1 second, lady. Let me.
Okay, thank you.
This bill specifically applies, lady, to the ACE Fund, the Industry Incentive Financing Revolving Fund, and the existing Industry Productivity Loan Fund.
Okay, and so the ACE is a big investment, right?
I guess it could be.
Okay, but let's just say, does this allow for small type business investments through MDA for the indigenous people under tribal lands?
Whatever would qualify underneath those funds, those programs would also be able to, would make the businesses locating on tribal lands eligible for that as well.
But ACE does require like a significant investment though, doesn't it? To qualify for that?
Lady, whatever the current requirements are on the ACE fund would apply here. None of that's being changed, other than the eligibility.
All right. The reason I was asking that was to see if the chairman, as going through this process, would maybe be amenable to putting some language in there that might allow for MDA to maybe let it be that's, fewer jobs and a lower investment, since that I believe in the state of Mississippi, we have about less than 1% of indigenous people that are in business in the state. And this would be a way that if we were to carve out something here where they could get some additional help, and it not be, this is 15 million, 1,000 new jobs. That's a big hurdle to climb for other than a casino.
Right. In my understanding, ladies, this is not just for indigenous people themselves per se, as it's businesses that locate on their tribal lands. So, I mean, the business could be, owned by any ethnicity, including indigenous people. But it's just for, businesses that locate on those tribal lands.
So we're not doing anything to understanding that, there has been, as far as being able to compete in the business world. Okay, I understand what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, the motion is title sufficient, do pass. Anybody wish to vote no? Seeing none, the motion carries. There's a motion to reconsider and a motion to table. And with that, we're ready for the motion. Motion is rise and report. Thank you.